Hi guys, and welcome to the channel. If you're visiting for the first time, I'm in the process of doing DIY camper van conversion based on Ford Transit cargo van. There's already a number of videos on my channel about all the things I've done so far. But in this episode, we're going to be looking at the plumbing. I have a 27-gallon water tank here on the passenger rear wheel well. From here there will be a power pump and an expansion tank. And through PEX B tubing, that's going to go all the way to the front in the kitchen area. To secure the fuel tank in place using the straps I made, I drilled two 11mm holes here. One here and one over there. They're designed to accept M8 reeve nuts and 8mm bolts. So all I have to do now is insert the reeve nut and with the tool secure it in place. Because I drilled in the sheet metal, I applied a coat of silver rust paint. It matches the body color, but it doesn't leave the edge of the sheet metal exposed. So the way the reeve nut tool works, you open it, screw on the reeve nut all the way to the end, and then place the tool and the rivet all the way in the hole. Make sure it's pressed all the way in. And then just tighten the two handles. And that's it. Then all you have to do is unscrew the tool from the reeve nut. And your reeve nut is in place. There we go. We have an 8mm bolt now that can fit in the sheet metal where there was no nut before. I couldn't use the one underneath, it was just too low for my purpose. Now you might be asking yourself why I use metric reeve nuts and bolts. The reason is simple. There are different things online. People use different sizes, and the thing is, the Transit is all metric. As far as I know, that's the way it is. So all the nuts that you will find, they're either M6, M8, I'm not sure, there might be a couple of M10s. But the holes that are drilled actually accept exactly metric reeve nuts. If you try to fit fractional inches or whatever, you might have troubles with the reeve nuts not grabbing properly. So do yourself a favor, make it easy for yourself. Order either online from Amazon or find locally metric reeve nuts. They fit well, and get your metric bolts as well. Like the Transit is a European design. Like I know the Transit model from 40 years ago when I used to work in France. Like we had a Transit for deliveries. That was back in the 80s. So they're fairly recent in North America, but in Europe they've been around forever. And European vehicles, they're all metric. So far I've been building kind of an enclosure for all the components. So this will be facing the rear. That's the field port at the top. That's the shower connection for an exterior shower wand. It has an on-off switch and kind of a regulator valve. Here is the push button to trigger the timer for the water pump. Because I have the water pump on a timer, not just an on-off switch, because an on-off switch, if you forget to turn your pump off and leave the vehicle and there is a leak, The pumps are generally pressure activated. So when they detect a drop in pressure, they will bring it up. And what you'll find is your pump will be pumping water into a leak if that ever happens, and you'll come back to a flood. So with the pump on the timer, which I've never seen anybody do, but it makes total sense, the pump will turn off by itself. Like the power to the pump will turn off by itself after 10 minutes. For me, you can choose whatever time you want. So basically, this is just a momentary switch. It just sends a pulse to a digital timer in the kitchen control panel, and that powers the pump for 10 minutes, and then it shuts off. So if we need water for more than 10 minutes, we can just trigger the pump a second time, either from the back or from the kitchen control panel. And then here I will have a 12-volt outlet, like a cigarette lighter kind of plug, and here an AC double outlet. These are just in case in the future either we or if we sell the vehicle, the new owner wants to have a water heater, electric. There's options for powering it. All right, this is still temporary. I'm missing something for the AC outlet that will be on the front, let's call it, of the plumbing panel. So I can't really mount things permanently yet. But this is the general idea. So I have this enclosure is in two parts, just so I can put it together. And let's start at the bottom. There is the water pump right here, which is plumbed to the water tank with a flexible hose. This flexible hose I'm holding in my hand will connect here to the expansion tank. So pump in, pump out into the expansion tank. And from the output of the expansion tank, I will be switching to PEX B. So we'll come back to that in a second. And then there will be a T that will allow me to bring water again using PEX B to the little shower box here. And the other branch of the T will come up here and then go to the kitchen. If you're not familiar with it, this is what PEX tubing looks like. It comes in three colors: white, blue for cold water, and red for hot water. Because I've got fairly short runs, I didn't want to spend money on getting both blue and red, so I'll do both hot and cold in white and just label them. The advantage of PEX is that it is somewhat flexible. It is rigid enough to keep its shape once it's along a wall, but it does have some flexibility to take corners. The main advantage for us in a campervan is that flexibility gives it some resistance to freezing. If it does freeze, it will come back to its shape once it gets warmer. It won't get damaged. There's two types, PEX A and PEX B. I won't get into the details. You can Google that. But I'm basically using PEX B in ½ inch. You can get it in 3/4, 1 inch. I think 3/4 and 1 inch. But anyways, there's not that much pressure in my line. Again, they're fairly short, and ½ inch saves me space as always. With the tubing, you get, you don't get, but you buy accessories like fittings. For example, a 90-degree angle, tees. You can get your, I haven't opened the package, but your kitchen little shutdown valve has the conventional 3/8 fitting on one side, and the PEX fitting on the other side. So make sure you get the correct one. You can't mix and match. If you're using like regular flexible holes like I did, the fittings look very similar, but they're not the same. So make sure you get the correct ones. What else? I got some plugs. And the way you mount the tubing on the fittings is fairly straightforward and quick, but you have to be careful. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. So you have your fitting, your tubing, and a copper ring. So you just slide your copper ring on the tubing. And these fittings are quite nice because they give you the exact spacing you need for everything. You don't have to think about it. Just push the tubing all the way in until it stops. And then you see these two little prongs. They give you the proper spacing for your copper ring. And then using a special crimp tool and choosing the right size, you just crimp that copper ring on your piece of tubing, and that is it. You have to be careful to hold your tool exactly at 90 degrees so you don't place your copper ring sideways. And once this is done, the tool usually comes with what's called a go/no-go gauge. So this one has both a half-inch and quarter-inch. But basically what happens, and I've already gotten started on my plumbing at the rear. You take your gauge, so half-inch for me is the small one, and then slide it. Sorry, I'm trying to stay in the camera. Slide it on your copper ring, and it should go to the mark. Basically, the mark should align with the apex of the ring. It should enter, but it should not go all the way. If it doesn't enter, you haven't squeezed hard enough and your fitting is loose. And if it does go all the way through, then you've squeezed too hard, and your connection is likely to break at some point. So this is quite nice. The tool is adjustable to give you exactly the crimp force that you need, and you just have to make a test or two, adjust it, and then it should be good. But it's recommended to test each and every single ring as you go. That way, if one is a no-go, you can just redo it right away. So this is pretty much it. So this, if you remember what I just showed you in my previous little segment, this will fit into the output of the expansion tank. The T that I mentioned is here. It will go up into the shower box, and this section here has a 90-degree elbow, and it's going up, and then it will go towards the front of the van. So the water pump, expansion tank are both now connected using PEX tubing, and that tubing is running along the wall here towards the kitchen galley. I'm not done yet, so I haven't cut the PEX tube yet because I need to determine exactly where my sink will be. And the idea is to have it actually in the slider door opening, so farther out than the wall's going to. So I might have to put a piece of plywood to hold that PEX line further into the door opening, or just leave the tube as it is right now and cut it later. I will see. And here on the panel I have so AC outlets on the right, a 12-volt cigarette lighter kind of outlet here.
That's in case somebody, might be me or might be someone else, wants to connect a hot water heater here at the rear. This is the trigger switch for the water pump. Again, because it's on timer. Above is the shower connection with its own valve. And then to the right of it is the fill port for the water tank.
So yesterday I did a pressure test of my plumbing so far. I capped the end of the PEX tubing that's going to the kitchen galley at the end because I don't have any faucets or anything installed yet. But I wanted to check what I've done so far, and everything checked fine except I had a significant leak here in the shower box. And I thought it was my PEX crimp that was leaking, but it wasn't. And I removed the PEX coupling, which is a screw-on to the garden hose thread that's coming out of the shower box, and I had forgotten to put silicone tape on it, so I assumed that's where the leak was coming from. Put some silicone tape, retightened, and it was still leaking just the same. And actually it was the shower box itself that brand new out of the box was leaking. And that shower box, basically what it is, it's like a chromed valve on the outside on which the shower wand screws on, and on the inside it's just a brass fitting, and these two are screwed together on the plastic housing. Well, it turned out that the fitting was loose on the valve, like it never got tightened, and there was no silicone tape either. So once I had that disassembled, which is really straightforward, I put silicone tape, tightened the valve on the fitting, and put everything together, and now it's checking fine. So the last time I couldn't test my plumbing any further because I couldn't extend the line all the way because it comes partially into the sliding door opening. But I started building my kitchen galley, and now I've completed the plumbing. I've extended the line, as you can see, installed the cold and hot water shut-off valves, and I'm about to trigger the pump and put pressure in the system and see what happens. Hopefully there's no leaks. The thing is, to release the pressure, the only way is to attach the kitchen faucet, which right now is just hanging in a bucket, so I can drain the lines until I'm ready to mount everything permanently. But I'll take the opportunity to show you the kitchen galley. I've covered the heater, which is under this plywood thing here. The hot air vents are run. They're coming out at both ends of the kitchen unit. One's blowing into the living space, and there's already a vent in place, and the other one's blowing into the garage area, and there's also a vent cover in place. So let's turn the power pump on and keep our fingers crossed. So I have activated the pump. It's in its 10-minute cycle. There doesn't seem to be any leaks anywhere. The rear I have already tested and repaired the leak in the shower box. That seems to be fine. And here in the kitchen, sorry, cross in front. Here in the kitchen, there's pressure coming in the line now to both hot and cold water taps. I don't see a leak anywhere. Everything's dry. I'm gonna wait for a while and leave everything like this, because if there is a slight leak, the pressure will gradually drop and the pump will turn back on by itself to compensate, which so far hasn't happened. I haven't looked at the time, so I'll gauge the 10 minutes roughly. So I'm running out of space inside the van now to be far enough back to show you the kitchen galley that I'm building. But basically this is where I'm at. I just painted it. The paint is fresh, but it is ready for me to cut and install the faces. So on this side there will be 2 vertical doors here, and then here there will be 2 drawers at the top and then 1 single door at the bottom. So I'm trying to not waste any space, so that's why you can see those kind of steps at the back here. Underneath is the heater, and the hot air ducts go in front along the kitchen galley here, so they're a bit lower. So and I left this thing going all the way down to the floor. You know, we can store bottles or something in there. And well, the plumbing you've seen before. The water filter is in place, and these are basically cross braces, so it's very sturdy, and it's not done yet. But the countertop will go on this. The sink probably, I'm thinking now, all the way to the left here, to the front. So we can have as much counter space as possible on this side for the gas stove, the propane stove. And here, I've mentioned that before in previous videos, but there's a lagoon type table mount down there, and the table will be made of the same material as the countertop. Basically, I bought a long enough countertop that I can cut it and have 2 pieces left over for tables, and one of them will be able to come up and basically meet the countertop and act as an extension of the countertop. So we'll have, you know, it's a small space, but I think we'll have enough countertop surface to prep food, cook, and so on. I started building the kitchen galley outside the van. I think it's easier to do a good job, but for one man alone, and it was a fairly heavy unit and awkward to move around. So I ended up building the base and the 2 sides and then moving that inside the van, securing it. And I've been working mostly in the van now. As you can see, I've done quite a bit. I cut the door here, so because we'll have the gray water jug underneath the sink, and I think it's easier to take it out and empty it from the outside than from inside, so we'll have a door here. The door is already ready. I just have to paint it and mount it. The hot air vents from the heater are in place. As you can see here, they run along the bottom of the cabinet, come out here in a couple of vents, one towards the front of the van and one towards the rear. And if we move inside, this is where I'm at for now. The water filter is installed. It's not connected yet, but the shut-off valves are in place. And the takeout for the water filter is installed. My plumbing is all done. It's tight quarters, so the shut-off valve, they happen to fall right in between the 2 sides of the unit, but that's fine.
The bottom drawer is in place. That was a bit of a challenge. I've never made drawers before, but it works fine. It's full extension, so we have full access to that drawer. It's not super deep, but it's quite large, so that'll be nice. And I started working on the top drawer, which will have a cutout in the corner for the to allow for the water valve, but that's okay. And at the bottom, then there's storage. The heater, the SPAR heater, is back there, and that's why there's sort of a step. I left a place that goes all the way down to the floor because we can store bottles or taller stuff. And later I will work on the sink side of the galley. For now I've ignored that. So it's coming along quite well. The slides are in place for the top drawer. And they're in 3 parts. There's only 2 here because the third one, the front part, is actually on top. Here you take those apart and mount them on the drawers. As you can see, I started installing the doors and drawer faces on the kitchen galley. So I think it's looking nice. So this one is on the outside, as you can see. The knob is very short. There's barely enough to put fingers behind. That's just because when the sliding door is closed, it almost contacts the doorknob. But it's working. So the idea is that this blue water jug will be our gray water reserve, whatever. And the idea is that it's got a quick connect on it, and we'll be able to take it out through this door to empty it and dispose of the gray water in an appropriate place. I chose to open the door on this side rather than on the other side, just because I've got my porch light here. So I thought if we're for some reason in need of emptying the gray water jug when it's dark, then we can benefit from the light rather than having the door create a big shadow. And on the inside I installed 1 door and then the 2 drawers, and I'm working on the other 2 vertical doors right now. So this door goes quite deep. It houses the heater at the very back, which is all enclosed now. But that's where we're gonna keep our propane stove. It fits quite nicely in here. It's almost like the space has been designed for it. There's a bit of a step at the rear where the heater is, so that keeps the propane stove from moving around too much, and as I said, it just fits in there. And at the very end we can store we can stack a couple of plastic storage boxes. And so I've got an RV lock on this door, and then these 2 drawers, the slides have a locking system when they're fully pushed in. So I think I'll do some driving and see if I need to add RV locks, but I think on their own they're staying closed nicely. And so these slides, they're full extension, as you can see, so we can reach all the way back in the drawer. So that's quite a bit of storage, and there's 2 of them. So this one has an indent just for my water shut-off valve that's in the way at the back, but no big deal. So yeah, quite happy with that. It's a lot of work to install drawer slides if you've never done it. It was a first time for me, and you have to get everything right. The cabinet has to be perfectly square. Your drawers have to be perfectly square. The spacing between the slides has to be exactly right. The drawer boxes have to be made exactly so they fit nicely on the slides.
Otherwise, your door will jam and or rub, whatever, not close. But once it's all done and it works, it's actually quite nice. These doors are actually not door faces, they're drawer faces from IKEA. The only difference, like they're exactly the same dimensions and everything, both door faces and drawer faces, except that the drawer faces, they're pre-drilled, of course, to install those faces on IKEA drawers. They don't have the cutout for the hinges. But thanks to this Craig tool here, it's actually fairly straightforward to do. You can adjust everything. The drill bit is already in it to the exact size. And basically just clamp it on your door and drill. So to clamp, I'm clamping on the cardboard so I don't mark the outside of the door, which would be a shame. And then, yeah, it's pretty easy. Just mount your drill on that drill bit. Sorry, forgot my gloves. And drill. The Craig jig has a stop to the exact depth, so you don't have to worry about that. So it's very easy to use. You set it up once. All you have to adjust basically is your spacing from the edge of the door. So depending on the hinge that you're using, but the hole size is always the same. I believe it's 25 millimeters. And just line it up, you know, in height where you want it, and that's it. Just drill. Remove the drill from the jig. Throw away the dust. So the hinges, they come with these plugs which fit the IKEA doors. They're pre-drilled for these things. In my case, I don't use those. So just put your hinge in there, line it up, make sure it's square. Pre-drill the holes for the screws. Move to the other side and repeat. Now I'm going to be drilling the hole for the doorknob, so I already marked it. I'll drill a pilot hole first. Then install the doorknob. The little llamas from South America. So this is the installation of the last door inside the van. I never thought I would get that far. It's been so much work and so much stress. Anyways, I just need to get my drill. So what I did to make the job easier, I found a piece of plywood, or I could have made a piece of plywood that's just the right height to align the doors so they're all at the same level. So I'm going to use that again. Now, how am I going to do this so that you can still see it? So one screw at the top. One at the bottom. So those with a keen eye might notice an extra piece of plywood here at hinge level. It's because hinges are made to work with 3/4 inch plywood, which is the standard for making cabinets. Now, because I wanted to save weight in the van, I worked with 1/2 inch plywood, so quite a bit thinner, which works quite well because it's going to be strong enough. But everywhere there's a door hinge, I had to add some thickness so that the hinges would grab properly. Well, that looks pretty good. I just have to align those two hinges now so that everything's perfect. But this is it. Last door installed and done. I still have to make a piece of plywood at the top here for the RV locks. Otherwise those doors won't, I mean, they might stay closed, but I'd rather have the RV locks like I did on this cabinet. And then I'll be ready to move on to the countertop. Today is an exciting day. I'm about to cut the countertop for the kitchen galley. So we went with this bamboo countertop from IKEA. I think it's slightly over 1 inch thick, so not super thick, but it's supposed to be durable and lightweight in a way. I mean, it's not much lighter than anything else, just slightly. We like the color, it looks nice, and yeah, as you can see, I've taped here where I'm about to cut. Which will so this side will be the countertop, and with what's left I'll have enough to make 2 tables for the 2 swivel seats. So I wanted to come further out here, so I'll need to trim by the backsplash over there, but that was expected. Otherwise, I think it's gonna look good. So I trimmed around the backsplash
and the door opening to get the overhangs that I want. So that cabinet is fitting nicely now. You can see here around what will be the backsplash. It's cut out. It goes as far as I want it to get as much counter space as we can. And then here at the front, it sticks out. I think it's about 4 centimeters, so which is nice. It's just enough to bring it slightly over the drawer faces and doors. With the leftover end of the countertop, I made 2 tables. As for the countertop itself, as you can see, I drilled the hole for the sink. The manufacturer gives a template, which it's just cardboard. It's not very accurate, but at least it gave me the measurements, which I traced and cut. And the sink just fits perfectly. There's no play, nothing. So once I'm ready, I'll just have to silicone around, drop it in, and that's all. There's nothing holding it from underneath. I drilled the hole for the faucet. It's a single hole, so that makes it easier. And right now I'm just deciding where I'm gonna put the spout for the water filter, the drinking water. So it's working out well so far. I'm very happy with what I've done. Well guys, this is it for this video about the plumbing and the kitchen galley. I hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting. Please don't forget to click like and leave me a comment, questions before you leave. And I thank you very much for watching and supporting the channel. And until next time, I hope you have a great day. Bye.